Hi, and welcome to the Global Conscious Health Summit. So happy that you're here. And we're talking everything health and health related. And so today I have Bronwyn Katdare on, and she's a nutrition, lifestyle, and functional medicine health coach. A balanced and healthy life is one that unifies body, mind, and spirit. And so the clients that she works with are really looking for the confidence to heal themselves. And she guides them on that path by introducing them to a whole food, plant-based nutrition and protecting themselves from environmental toxins and EMF exposure. So that helps them get sleep, unlearn the habits that trigger anxiety and a state of overdrive. So important. Welcome, Bronwyn.
Thank you so much, Jody. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you here. So tell us a little bit about your story and how, because we're going to talk about EMFs today and how you got started, with the EMFs and helping people with that, and yourself probably.
Yeah, true. Well, since college, I've had a myriad of health challenges. So since then, I've done a lot of work to bring myself back to health. But a lot of the time, I just felt off. I just didn't feel right a lot of the time. I feel kind of spacey. So like if I was out shopping, I
Mhm.
couldn't remember what I went into the store for unless I had a list, which probably isn't that unusual. But I would also just stare at the items on the shelf and couldn't make decisions between items, couldn't add prices together, and my eyes and head would just start really hurting. And I'd get so tired, but so anxious. And that sounds kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
So this would happen not just in stores, but it started happening anytime I would go out. So I started thinking, I have some kind of anxiety issue here. And then it would take a day or two to recover, but I'd still be exhausted because after being out, I'd still be jittery and I wouldn't sleep at night. So it was about 5 years ago that I started using my computer a lot more at home and I started using wireless. So up to that point, my computer had always been hardwired. And I started feeling all of those symptoms at home too, but now skin on my face and my ears would start burning, and my sleeping completely tanked. I couldn't fall asleep for hours no matter how tired I was. And then I'd sleep for an hour or two at a time, wake up for an hour or two. So every night it was the same battle. So I went to my doctor and told him all of these things. And what he said to me, and this is a quote, it's just the way you're wired. There's nothing we can do about it. And here's your prescription for anxiety.
Of course.
Right? Right. Well, I know we're meant to sleep because that's when we heal. But after that, it took a few years to figure out that I'm not only sensitive to mold and chemicals, but also EMF. So I had a lot of education and did some experimentation and figured out what my triggers were and what I could do to change my habits and mitigate those symptoms.
Yeah. Wow. It's amazing how those affect us and we don't know because it's invisible.
Right.
We have no idea it's there. So tell us a little bit about EMFs. Where do we find them besides everywhere, right?
Everywhere. That's
Yeah,
the answer.
right, exactly.
Well, there are natural electromagnetic fields and man-made electromagnetic fields. So every living thing, so humans, animals, plants, we all have an electromagnetic field, including the Earth itself. So you can think about natural EMF fields like the polarity at the north and south poles. And the frequency of the Earth itself is 7.83 hertz. So remember that. It's going to be important coming up.
Okay.
Okay.
We have a test coming.
That-
7.83.
that's right. So the body has frequencies that are necessary to heal itself. So in humans, bone growth occurs at 7 hertz, capillary formation at 15 hertz, nerve regeneration at 2 hertz, and ligament repair at 10 hertz. So just note that the frequency for healing is 15 hertz or lower. These natural frequencies are healing because the body understands them and knows what to do with them. And then there are man-made EMFs, and this is where we run into trouble. So man-made EMF fields are harmful and toxic, invisible fields, like you said, and they're created from electronics everywhere. So power lines, electricity in our homes, all electronics, cell phone and computers, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and anything that's wireless. And that's just to name a few. It's, yeah, and it's just so important for our health and well-being to reduce our risk and exposure to these fields. And we do it by creating an environment that supports and protects the immune system.
Yeah. So I didn't think about what hurts, with the energy of the body. That was so interesting. So, so there's 5 kinds of EMF fields, right, in and around our homes, plus one that's rarely talked about. So what are these types of EMFs, and can you give us some examples of those? That would be great.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the frequency of electricity in your house is 60 hertz or 60 cycles per second. So examples of this include the first 2 EMF fields. So the first is AC direct, and this follows the path of wiring. So we're talking wiring connecting the breaker box to an outlet, even if nothing's plugged into that outlet. A cord from appliance to the outlet, power lines, cell towers. And then the second is AC magnetic, and these are created when things are powered on. And this can be whether they run on a battery or they have to be plugged in. So AC magnetic fields can come from battery-operated flashlights or toothbrushes, a TV that's on, or when it's in sleep mode. Then we have the third type of EMF field, and this is radio frequency or RF. Some examples of radio frequency at 2.4 megahertz would be cell phones, smart utility meters, and at 5 gigahertz, this is Wi-Fi modems and Bluetooth. So Wi-Fi and cell phones run in the millions or billions of cycles per second. And that's what most people are sensitive to, that pulsed radio frequency that's associated with the Wi-Fi or the cell phones. And there's also analog RF, and that's thousands of cycles per second. So that would be things like your AM/FM radio, your TV, microwave ovens. But RF is really, really interesting. It's kind of like a ninja, okay?
Okay.
It can bounce off walls, change directions really quickly. It slips through walls and windows and floors and ceilings, and it's constantly changing based on usage. But not just your usage, but also the usage of everyone and everything around the neighborhood. The more usage, the more radiation. And if you have services enabled on your cell phone, like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, email, you're creating more radiation, especially if you're downloading large files. So that's AC direct, AC magnetic, and radio frequency. So now we have the fourth EMF field, and that's dirty electricity. And this is created when there are harmonics on the electrical current. So harmonics are those spikes up and down in the sine wave instead of a nice smooth wave pattern. Dirty electricity can be created when anything has a higher frequency than 60 hertz, which is the frequency of electricity in your house. And dirty electricity affects the entire circuit, not just the outlet where something's plugged in. So some examples of dirty electricity would be anything with switches for different speeds. So your hair dryer, your washing machine, a blender, anything with a charger, any smart appliances or devices, dimmer switches, broadband internet. The fifth EMF field is net current, and that's exactly what it sounds like. It's extra current in the circuit. And this happens when there are wiring errors or when current circulates in metal pipes in the home. And this is something that really needs to be addressed by a professional first. Because if you make any type of mitigation in the home, or if you want to try shielding products, your symptoms could remain or they could become worse. And then you think that nothing's working for you. So those are the 5 that are talked about. So the 6th, the little secret one that nobody really talks about, is geopathic stress or geostress. And this is a distortion of the natural frequency of the Earth, that's 7.83 hertz, by weak electromagnetic fields created by not just streams of water underground, but also geological fault lines, underground caverns, excavation, any tunnels, drains, or sewers that were dug, bombing in war zones, blasting from mining, fracking, buried utility pipes and wires, fields from power stations and substations, and railroad tracks that have the heavy machinery going over it, and mineral deposits like radioactive minerals or coal, oil, and iron ore. So where the Earth's natural frequency, that 7.83 hertz, crosses, let's say, a water vein that's 500 feet below the surface, stress lines are created that can vibrate up to 250 hertz now. And the further you get from the Earth's natural resonance, it creates stress on the body that weakens the immune system of anything living above it or around it. And of course, that leads to greater susceptibility to viruses and bacteria, parasites, the effects of environmental toxins, degenerative disease, chronic disease, and a whole range of health problems.
Gosh, I can only imagine. Talk about that a little bit. What are the health issues that are related to the EMFs? And what happens in our body too?
Yeah. So the body tries to resonate at the highest frequency available. And the body can't understand those ultra high frequencies that are in the thousands or millions or billions of cycles per second. It just doesn't know what to do with them. The body thrives between 62 to 68 hertz, so around the frequency of electricity. But because it's trying to resonate at the highest frequency available, it's trying to adapt and now live in the millions or billions of cycles per second like Wi-Fi and cell phones, and it was just never designed to do that. So think about how your body feels if you're at a concert and you're standing next to a speaker and that bass is really
Boom.
pumping, so you have that vibration coming at you. So when that happens to me, that pulsation actually causes pain in my body.
Oh gosh, because you're sensitive.
Yeah, and I mean, imagine that pulsation now happening in the millions or billions of cycles per second inside your body.
Oh, you're saying that's what's happening in our body? Oh
Yes.
God.
Yes, because we're supposed to live between 62 to 68 hertz, not millions or billions.
That's a quite of a range there.
It really is.
Oh,
And the thing is, the sources of EMF can affect you and you don't even know it. But everyone is affected by it at the biological level.
yeah.
So it's just that some people feel it and others don't. I mean, many men don't feel symptoms triggered by EMF,
Mm,
but many women do.
interesting.
Um, my friend actually works as a wind turbine technician, so he is surrounded by EMF, and he works in like this metal conductive box with all of this wiring and electronics and dirty electricity from inverters. So when we worked on his house, he didn't immediately feel relief because every day he's going back to work for hours at a time and he's just surrounded by EMF. But I mean, even if you don't have a job like that, maybe, people work in an office, you have to think, where is your desk located? Are you next to a wall that has wiring in it? What's on the other side of the wall? Is
Yeah.
it like the break room refrigerator or the copy machine or the main computer room? Do you have an access panel near you? A security system? You can have Wi-Fi there. And how many coworkers have on their cell phones? Or maybe you work in a shop and you are right near a window off the street. That's going to allow in EMF from power lines, street lamps, stoplights, electric cars, electricity meters from your building and other buildings. And you have to think, what machinery are the other businesses using? And
Right?
right?
Wild.
And you know, this isn't just an adult only problem. Children are
Oh,
at higher risk because they're growing
yeah.
and their cells divide and multiply quickly. But if their but if their cells become affected by EMF, these cells and all of the new cells are going to be damaged. And now their skulls are softer than adults and easily penetrated by EMFs. And because their bodies are smaller than adults, they absorb a higher rate of radiation. And this goes for pets too. So any animals you have living with you are also at high risk.
Yeah.
So that's just the tip of the iceberg because when you're exposed to EMFs,
Oh, no.
there's excessive neurotransmitter release, excessive neuroendocrine release, and oxidative stress from free radicals, and that causes disease. All of these things disrupt calcium channels and cause excessive calcium to leak into cells. So why is that important? Well, excessive neurotransmitter release can cause depression, insomnia, irritability, headaches, fatigue, that prickly, itchy, burning skin that I talked about earlier from damaged nerves, ADD, ADHD, and anxiety. And excessive calcium in cells are linked to cancers like leukemia, brain cancer, eye cancer, testicular cancer, premature aging, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS, and dopamine issues, so it's also related to depression and anxiety. And these changes in calcium signaling cause destruction of the blood-brain barrier. And then you have all kinds of waste and toxins circulating in the blood and all the organs, including the brain. And like that wasn't enough. What else does it do? So it also increases inflammation, and that contributes to all chronic disease. It depletes glutathione, which is a powerful antioxidant that helps you stave off disease. It depletes zinc, which also depletes serotonin, and you need serotonin in order to make melatonin in order to sleep. And then you might feel wired and tired, or jittery when you wake up, feeling exhausted whenever you wake up, or waking up with headaches, fatigue after being around computers or in your workplace or department stores. You'll have mitochondrial dysfunction, impaired detoxification, and find that you've become sensitive to all kinds of things. You might have throbbing headaches or migraines or feel like your head is just being squeezed in a vice. You might have pain at the temples or near the lymph nodes. And you might even have glucose metabolism issues from that drain of energy from that constant output of cortisol because your body is under stress. So you see an increase in diabetes, brain fog, decreased cognitive function, changes in autonomic nervous system, central nervous system. And when cells go into apoptosis, which is cell death, they now leach these toxins into the body, or the cell divides and then this abnormal replication affects DNA. And finally, there are changes in the myelin sheath. So the myelin sheath insulates nerve cells, and when they're damaged, the nerves can't send messages between your brain and the rest of your body. So the body just thinks that it's under constant attack.
Yeah.
And, usually a person isn't exposed in one large EMF exposure. It's that chronic daily exposure that builds up. And then the body starts to be unable to detox, repair, or protect itself from EMFs. And, your immune system just basically bottoms out.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. It's crazy. And it's like we know it, but we don't really pay attention. I mean, we know a little that is affecting us, but this is huge what you're saying here
Yeah.
because it's way more, way more than you even realize. Wow. And the effects is just incredible.
and it's everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't escape it.
No,
Mhm.
no.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So then what can we do? What are some recommendations that you have for
Yeah, let's go out on a positive note here.
I know it's like, oh man, it's
I'll
scary.
bring you down, then I'll bring you back up.
Yeah, awareness is huge though. You can't bury your head in the sand
No.
because it's gonna get you, you know. So it's always like, be aware, and if you can do something, and you can. So let's talk
Mhm.
about that.
Right. Well, my first recommendation is distance is your friend. So keep your cell phone away from your head, out of your pockets and your bra. Your body is mainly water, and water is a conductor of electricity.
Mhm.
Don't use a cell phone if you don't have to. If you're going to talk on it, turn off Bluetooth and turn on the speaker function. And only use it when you have maximum bars, because otherwise the phone is constantly searching for the better signal. So
Oh,
the lower the bars, the more radiation.
oh, wow.
Um,
Yeah.
don't let don't let children use a cell phone, even if they're just playing on it. Put your cell phone on airplane mode every chance you get. Keep the phone in a different room, and even better, just turn it off. Turn off Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, email notifications, all of those apps that you don't use. Cell phones are always transmitting data in and out, so turn these things off. Stay at least 3 feet away from the microwave when it's in use. Unplug it when it isn't. Better yet, if you can, get rid of the microwave and heat your food on the stove or in the oven.
Yes.
And this one people get nervous about. I'm going to talk about Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So if you can, unplug it at night, or at the very least, and this is what I do, I put it in a router guard and make sure that the cover is on overnight so it's not affecting your sleep.
Oh,
You can also hardwire your internet connection. You're going to have a safer connection and a more stable connection. But when you do that, you want to make sure that your computer is on airplane mode. So again, it's not searching for a wireless signal. So that's the first one. My second recommendation is nutrition. So EMFs deplete vitamins A, C, E, and K. I always recommend a whole food plant-based diet to, in general, keep systemic inflammation down. When you have chronic inflammation, that inflammatory response can eventually start damaging healthy cells, tissues, and organs. And over time, this can lead to DNA damage, tissue death, and internal scarring. And all of those things are linked to the development of chronic disease. I also recommend cutting out gluten, even if you don't think you're affected by it. It will contribute to inflammation in your body. So just a quick rundown of symptoms of gluten intolerance are bloating, diarrhea, constipation, really foul smelling poop, abdominal pain, headaches, fatigue, skin issues like psoriasis, depression, weight loss or gain, anemia, anxiety, autoimmune disorders, especially autoimmune thyroid like Hashimoto's, joint and muscle pain, leg or arm numbness, brain fog, and if you can see my fingers, you can see I do have arthritis, and that is from gluten intolerance. So I like to teach about in my programs protecting yourself from EMF and environmental toxins, but also about healing inflammation that comes from gut issues, leaky gut, and breaching that blood-brain barrier. And my last nutrition tip is water. You need 1/2 your body weight in ounces per day, and that's just to be functional. That's not for optimum health, that's just to function. Um, Exercise. This is my next one. We all know we need it. We all know it boosts the immune system. So if you like Zumba, do it. If you like running, do it. Swimming, walking, Pilates, try to get outside and exercise, and that will increase your exposure to sunlight in a form of vitamin D that the body needs for just about every single process. Exercise also keeps your moods, levels of stress, and anxiety in check. My favorite thing aside from running would be Kundalini yoga and meditation. I'm a Kundalini awakening yoga teacher, and that has been the biggest game changer for me as far as anxiety and depression go. So I've incorporated Kundalini yoga and Reiki and shamanic healing into one of my programs for healing from overdrive, anxiety, and stress. And we've all heard EMF causes anxiety and a load of stress on the body and the mind. And my final recommendation is self-care. And this is usually the hardest one for people to take the time to do, so it's often made less of a priority than the others. But we need to make time to care for ourselves and love ourselves first. We need to recharge and refuel. So some things that you can do at home. I like Epsom salt baths. Now I just soak my feet because I'm a distance runner and sometimes my feet get really sore. But if you like baths, take an Epsom salt bath. You get a nice dose of magnesium that your muscles and mind need in order to relax. And magnesium helps decrease anxiety. And Epsom salt baths also help if you have skin conditions that are triggered by EMFs, like psoriasis. Now, if you like essential oils, you can also add some of those to your bath. Some oils that support brain health and lessen the impact of EMF triggers are copaiba, vetiver, sandalwood, patchouli, ginger, and lang lang. Just make sure that you're getting organic and pure essential oils so you're not using something that potentially has chemicals in it. And if you like stones or crystals, use them. I have them scattered all around the house just because I think they're pretty. But I do have a piece of shungite. You can
Okay.
see this well in my office as an all-around detoxifier, but especially for EMF protection. And I also have pyrite, which is overall protective because it deflects what isn't healthy for you. So it can shield you from pollutants, toxins, EMFs, and infection. So, Jody,
Wow.
I know I crammed a whole lot in there.
Yeah, well, no, it's good. I mean, you covered it all, which is great. I mean, wow, so much more than we realize, but we can do things. So yeah, that was amazing. That was great. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And
Oof. And it's those hidden things that we don't realize that affect us. That's
right,
why I thought it would be so important to have you talk about that, because it's, again, awareness, you know?
exactly. And because you can't see it and they're not really tangible things,
Yeah.
they can, sometimes go over your head or you just forget about them or you're like, oh, they're not that important. But,
Yeah.
but they really are. They really do have such a maximum impact on your health that
Yeah.
you really do need to pay attention to them.
And some are more sensitive. It doesn't mean it doesn't impact you, because it impacts everyone. And some are more sensitive
Right.
than others to it, and maybe don't even know what's going on. Like you know, it took you a while too to figure it out. It's not something you think about.
No, I just know that I felt really, really weird whenever I would go out. And I think that's the best descriptor. You feel weird, you feel off. You know that something's wrong, but you have no idea what it is.
Yeah. Wow. So hopefully, like, there could be people on here going, wow, that's me. You know, like, I feel like that. And this brings awareness to you of what it could be.
Yeah, and I mean, especially women. I mean, we'll all go to our doctor and say, "Hey, this is happening to me," and they're like, "Oh, it's nothing. Don't worry about it."
Oh,
And men too. They don't feel these things as much. I mean, my friend who works as the wind turbine technician, he wasn't feeling it because he was surrounded by it all of the time.
used to it.
Yeah.
Maybe too, and thinking this is just the way it is.
Hmm.
And then if he got away, he'd be like, whoa,
Right.
different now.
Right. Maybe he needs a long vacation away from all of this stuff,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he'll come. Then he'll come back and be like, "Whoa, hey."
Yeah, right? because that's sometimes what happens.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Bronwyn. We loved it. This was a great presentation with EMFs. Wow.
Thank you. Can I let people know where to find
Oh,
out
yes.
more?
Yes, yes. Sorry.
Okay,
And you have a free gift, right?
I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they can go to my website at coachcathealth.com. I also have a women's Facebook group called Nourish Pure Power, Holistic Non-Toxic Plant-Based Lifestyle, and a YouTube channel that's pretty new. And my next round of programs begins this summer, and I'll be holding some online workshops before that. So you can find out all of that on my website and go to my website for my freebie food matrix. It's going to tell you what foods fight the effects of EMF and will give you a robust immune system. And you're also going to get a recipe using some of those foods for an EMF fighting superfood smoothie. And that is at coachcathealth.com.
Okay. And there will be a link in the email where you got this too.
Yes.
So then
Great.
you'll have it. So thank you so much. Yeah, this was great.
Thank you so much, Jody, for having me on. It's been such a pleasure.
Yeah. All right. Bye for now.